I'm speechless right now, ladies and gentlemen. The Milwaukee Bucks behind a big game from Giannis Antetokounmpo come into Golden One Center and beat our Sacramento Kings 114-108. You're watching Postgame Live, brought to you by Toyota. Kyle Draper, Morgan Reagan. I'm glad we're going to hear from Doug Christie. I'm glad we're going to hear from the players, Morgan, because I don't have much of an explanation tonight right now. The Kings, I thought, played well, but maybe, just maybe, a superstar player took over in the second half, and we had no answer for Giannis.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that simple or not. You tell me. What did you see?
Because I want to, in some ways, be like, yeah, you couldn't stop him. When he had the basketball, there's only so much resistance you can give him, and he can play with just so much force. But at the same time, in the non-Giannis minutes, the Kings still didn't win it.
Right.
And I felt like those were the moments that you had to just capitalize, find magic, do anything you could out there, be relentless. And not saying that the effort wasn't there, because all those things were there tonight. But it was just making sure that in every way, shape, and form, you were capitalizing every single time he was on the bench. And the Bucks were still doing a good job, and you were going cold from three-point land and so much more.
Well, and we were going cold, and I felt like the Bucks were heating up, and I felt like Giannis set the tone in that second half, and the other guys followed. Then you got to double and triple team Giannis, and how many corner three-pointers did we give up out there? And it's just, it's frustrating. Let's go to the crunch time tape right now. It's frustrating. Kings fall to 35-35 on the season as we take a look at what transpired down the stretch. 108-107, Milwaukee on top. Gary Trent Jr. catches it in that shooting pocket, knocks down the three. That made it 108-110, Bucks on top. And then a 24-second violation coming up here. So solid defense right there by DeMar DeRozan. Chance for the Kings, their next possession, to take the lead as Doc Rivers is fired up. Keegan had a great look right here, Morgan.
And that's it. That's all you wanted to see, right? Was, are you making sure you're generating some of the best looks on the offensive end? And then right there, Keegan, a fantastic defensive play, but the ball gets to the corner for another three. And then Kyle, this was just heartbreaking to see too. The freebies. Zach LaVine at the free throw line. And even when those aren't going in, I mean, you could make it a 3-point game with 23.6 seconds to go, and you're just feeling a different type of fighting energy there. But those misses, heartbreaking.
Yeah, and we're going to talk, a lot about this game. I'm looking at Gary Trent Jr., 0 points through the first three quarters. Gary Trent Jr., 11 in the fourth quarter. There you go, right there, ladies and gentlemen. It didn't have to be Giannis scoring the ball. He got other people involved. All right, let's get to our BMW Ultimate Performer tonight. And you got to give it to the dude. I mean, I thought 9 points in the first quarter for first half for Giannis. He erupted in that third quarter. And look at what he's been able to do over the last 8 games against us. Close to 35 points, shooting well, getting the rebounds, assists. I mean, he's a great player, and I thought he really tonight, Morgan, put his stamp on this game, especially in that third quarter.
Yeah, you made a joke in the pregame, like you told security to not let him in the building.
Right.
And I just wish in every way, shape, and form that could have happened, because he just dominates every single time he plays the Sacramento Kings. Like we mentioned, 22 points in that third quarter alone with those 8 rebounds. He was just feeling good. He knew he had to come out with a different type of energy, and he did just that. I thought the Kings were doing a fantastic job on him in that first half. Obviously playing aggressive, being handsy, making sure to just keep digging at the basketball to make his life more difficult. But then he figures it out, adjusts his game, because he's just one of the greats.
22 in the third quarter for Giannis Antetokounmpo, the future Hall of Famer, the Greek Freak. He sort of willed his team, brought his team to that win, and the other guys made big plays in that fourth quarter. All right, we're going to have the standings coming up in just a minute. We talked about Giannis dominant. I thought Keon Ellis had a great all-around game. 20 points. You see the rebounds, assists, 9 and 6. Tell me about Keon tonight and just what he was able to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why he didn't play in the final 550 of this game. But, I think they went for more size with Jake LaRavia. But at the same time, I just still think every single time Keon's out there, you just know that he's going to bring it. And I thought tonight was one of those nights, every minute that he was out there, he was bringing it in every way, shape, and form, obviously knocking down some long balls, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc, but then the 9 rebounds, crashing the boards, Kyle. Just how impactful that was tonight, running the floor in transition, bringing a different type of energy tonight with his confidence. I loved how he played.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Doug Christie, hopefully coming up in a minute here when he meets with the media. To your point about Keon's minutes, doing the math here because I got the box scores. Keon Ellis, 36 minutes, 39 seconds. At the end of 30 minutes, 29. So he played 6 minutes in that fourth quarter. Meanwhile, Jake LaRavia played the entire fourth quarter, all 12 minutes in that fourth.
And I thought his size was absolutely needed, but at the same time, I think when Keon is rolling and having a game like this, you gotta remember what he can still give you. And that's why I sit here and I go, was it the right call to have Keon out the last 550 and put Jake LaRavia in the whole time? I don't know that answer exactly. Right. But what I do know is that every single time Keon Ellis was in there tonight, and he's been consistent with that, where he just makes impactful plays.
Where would he have made a difference, you think, out here tonight? And because it's always easy to second guess the coach after a game. You look at a box score. Where would he have made a difference? And then who's he replacing in that lineup?
And that's the difficult part, Kyle. That's where we keep going, especially at the end of some of these games where we're like, you can't sit Zach, you can't sit DeMar, you can't sit whoever else. And I get some of those moments, but what he adds on the defensive end, because you asked that question, and I go, it's really more so his impact on the defensive end, the way that he gets up and guys, the ball pressure alone. How many times have we talked about in these wins how magnificent the ball pressure has been from Jake LaRavia, from Keegan Murray, from Keon Ellis, and what that does in a game? I just thought tonight it was one more time that it was needed late in this one.
All right, let's take a look at the up-to-date Western Conference standings. I mean, we want to show you this from now until April 13th when the season ends. Right now, your Sacramento Kings still in 9th place, but when you look at it right here, 2 games in front of the Suns in the loss column, 1 game in the win. Doing the math, we're a game and a half up on the Phoenix Suns for the 10th spot. And Dallas, meanwhile, do the math when it comes to them, same thing. And so this is going to be a fight to the very end. And, I asked you pregame, are you confident? I'll tell you this.
What?
I'm nervous. I'm worried because here's another chance where you probably should have had this win. Like, you played so well for most of this game and then just couldn't close this one out. Getting outscored in the fourth quarter, 28-19. That's your ball game right there.
I don't think the Kings had a bucket in the last 4 minutes or so, and it wasn't just due to the Bucks picking up their defensive intensity. It was more like, look, we saw some of those generated plays in crunch time. Like, there were some good shots still being taken, but there was just a different type of flow as well. Maybe not as confident as we saw, like in the beginning of the game when those big moments happen. And yeah, when you look at the Western Conference standings, I love going to you and saying, like, ask me after the game.
Right.
I just wish I was in a better place right now to be like, yeah, I'm confident again. Right. No, I'm back to being nervous.
Kings last field goal, 4:24. Left to go in the game. So the final 4:24, no field goals for your Sacramento Kings. All right, Keegan Murray, he's talking to reporters right now. Let's hear what he had to say.
Hey, Keegan, it seems like every night you draw the most difficult player the other team has to throw at this group. Just how hard is that, and how different is Giannis than any other player in the league?
I don't think it's not necessarily hard in a way. It's more like a challenge. So being able to have DC, Doug just trust me, guard 1 through 5 is a big task, and I feel like I'm up for it every night. So, but guarding a guy like Giannis doesn't take just me. It's an entire team effort because you got to build a wall against him because obviously he's really talented.
With Giannis, what did you see as the difference between his first and second half?
I think we let him get comfortable. With any good score, he sees the ball go in a little bit, easy layups, dunks, things like that. Then he gets comfortable shooting his mid-range shots. So, like I said before, we had to build a wall against him, and he was able to split that a couple of times, and that's just something that we got to get better at.
Keegan, are you noticing teams making significant second-half adjustments against you? Against the Bulls, it was less three-point attempts. Tonight, it was less shot attempts for Keon, who had it going in the first half. Just what are you noticing from first-half adjustments or halftime adjustments from opponents?
I don't know if it's opponents. I think it's us. We had something clicking in the third quarter, a certain set, which is just a side ball screen and a throwback. And then we got away from that, and I think that's kind of where the game ended right there. So we just have to stay consistent and make the game as simple as possible.
Kind of speaking to that, was that the biggest difference you noticed in the fourth quarter, how they were able to kind of create some separation?
Yeah. I think obviously their guys knocked down shots in the fourth, and they were able to get comfortable, and were able to figure out how they're going to get their shots each time down the court. So I feel like they adjusted really well in the second half for sure.
And you guys have been kind of accustomed to that.
All right, that's Keegan Murray right there. Kings wind up falling 114-108. Much more post-game live. We'll continue to break this one down. And where do Kings go from here next? Welcome back to Post-Game Live. Time for our Mercedes-Benz of Stockton star player of the game. Got to give JV Jonas Valanciunas his flowers tonight. 18 points, Morgan, 7 rebounds, crafty footwork, and moves around the basket as well.
Yeah, like on a night where Sabonis is out too, you go, okay, how are you going to replace him? And those 18 points, those 7 boards, and just the way that he was making himself felt in the paint at times, him and Brook Lopez just being super physical with one another. And I love to see it too, because he posed as a threat, not only on the offensive end, but I thought on the defensive end as well, being bouncy in his feet, making sure that he was going to try and stretch out and get Brook Lopez if he was stretching the floor.
Yeah. What about, Trey Lyles and just, obviously DeMontis Sabonis trying to juggle that big man lineup with JV at the center versus small ball with Trey Lyles. How do you navigate that, and how do you think we did out there tonight?
I think it's such a good weapon to have at times when it comes to Trey Lyles, and I thought especially in the first half, the way that Trey was battling in there, those extra effort plays, finishing with 5 rebounds, 3 assists as well. He started missing a few more threes than we would like to see, 1 of 7 from three-point land, but I think there is so many different things about his game, especially when he's locked in and he understands what his role is, that makes this team better. So when the others do step up, you see a lot of good, but man, it would have been much nicer if he just knocked down a couple more of those missed opportunities. He was open too.
Yeah. And how about, to your point, as a team, we just couldn't hit tonight. From 3-point range, I'm talking about.
I mean, it was just ugly in some ways, right? Yeah. Like how cold can you go at times, shooting almost 24% from 3-point land. And I thought, again, they got some good looks in the fact that they just couldn't get them to go down. I don't get it.
All right, let's look at the stat comparison right now, this entire game. And really for the Bucks, that second half is when they got cooking. You see 52.4%. They knocked down their threes in the second half, Morgan, because they were 4 of 15 in the first half. It wasn't like they were lighting the world on fire in that first half. Not many assists in this game either. 21 for the Kings, 22 for the Milwaukee Bucks. Their bench, 32 bench points to our 19. Give Kevin Porter Jr. some credit. He had 18 tonight. How about DeMar DeRozan tonight? 22 points on 8 of 18.
Yeah, he had some moments in this one where he's just super aggressive, looks for his, the same kind of DeMar DeRozan that you expect. But what I like about his game as of late, it doesn't feel like it's taking the rest of the team out of a flow on the offensive end. They're either still relocating, still moving around to pose as a threat, especially if a double does come on him, and then his vision is there. He had 4 assists tonight, only 2 rebounds, but got to the free throw line as well and was 6 for 7. So solid game from DeMar.
Yeah. All right, let's hear from Keon Ellis after tonight's 6-point loss.
Keon, you're obviously a defensive-minded guy, but you've talked about how prior to even Bama, you were offensive, and now you're getting to show that a little bit more. How comfortable are you with that, and what do you feel like has led to the increased aggression recently?
Definitely, I would say I'm comfortable in my role. I mean, I know majority of the time I'm playing off of our stars, so whatever they need me to do, whether it's shoot, drive off the catch, or whatever it is, that's just I know that's what I'm there to do. But a night like tonight, kind of had it going early, so just kind of playing off instincts. So definitely comfortable out there. But I think just taking what the defense gives me, and that just leads to whatever happens for the night.
Keon, it seems it's become a bit of a theme, but late in these games, offense becoming a little bit stagnant. What do you make of that from your perspective?
If that's the case, I think we're just trying to slow it down and just get it to our guys who we know are clutch in those situations. So maybe it's a thing of trying to get it to them too much, too early, maybe. And I think probably could move the ball a little bit more before we try to, I would say just go ISO ball and just try to get it to the guys who we know can make the tough shots and, those timely shots. So I think that might be what it could be. But damn, I'm blanking. I kind of forgot the question. But yeah, I think in situations you probably could just try to explore a little bit more within the offense and see if we can get the defense to make a mistake before we just try to hit tough shot after tough shot.
Keon, really good first half for you, then just 3 shot attempts in the second half. I asked Keegan a little bit about halftime adjustments of opponents, and he said it's not adjustments, it's you guys. Do you agree with that assessment? Why does it feel like you guys go away from what's working in the first half so much?
I don't necessarily feel that way. I mean, what was working for us was in the first half, ball movement a lot. And then I think as far as me personally, the shots that I was getting just was how the defense reacted to certain things. And I think in the second half, they had trouble guarding our step-up screen. So we kind of ran that until, they kind of tried to figure it out. But I think they called a timeout, and then we tried to drop a play and maybe didn't score for 2 possessions or whatever, then just went to something else instead of staying with the step. But I don't think we intentionally went away from it. I think we kind of forgot maybe what was working for us. So at that point, you tried to explore a little bit more within our offense and the other plays that we have. So, but probably would have been smarter to just stick to what we were killing them with.
Having now.
Wow, there you go, Morgan. I'm going to let you start off. Keon just talked about it. What do you make of what he said? I got some things I got to get off my chest and some things I want to say, but go ahead, I'll let you go first.
Before we went into Keon's post-game presser, we were talking about DeMar. And it was like, solid game, right? Keon brought up a few things that they started doing on the offensive end, and I completely agree. I felt like too early, they started going into their ISO. We need to rely on DeMar DeRozan or someone else getting their shot, where it's like the offense was so good and flowing in the beginning of the game. If they just kept that going a little bit longer, and then maybe in those other moments when it's like, no, we need to make sure we get this bucket, let DeMar cook. They just, again, have to keep finding that balance. I thought tonight they did a pretty good job, just went to the ISO a little bit too early.
Yeah, and the ISO they went to was, we're going to attack whatever matchup we see. And so whoever A.J. Green was guarding, they ran a nice little screen set between DeMar and Zach LaVine. If the Bucks switched, then it was LaVine on A.J. Green, take advantage of that, or Gary Trent. It felt like, to your point, we're trying to attack the mismatches and then play out of that. Yep. A little too much, maybe like you said, a little too early, instead of playing the same way we did. Maybe in the last 3 minutes.
Yes.
And here's the thing, though. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
This is something LeBron James does every single game, especially before Luka came. He gets the switch he wants.
Yeah.
He either shoots or he passes to an open guy. And I feel like that's what we're trying to do, but it's getting our offense out of the flow, really. It's getting stagnant out there.
Look at the minutes that you just said that you really noticed. You're like, yeah, in the last 3 or so minutes, they were scoreless in the last 4 whatever minutes. So you're exactly right. It did take it out of its flow. And you talk about hunting out the mismatch.
Yeah.
That is what they did so much under Mike Brown in the beginning of the season. And not to say that was necessarily Mike Brown's fault. It was just like, hey, these are the guys we have. This is what we want to do. But it ruins the flow for everyone else. And I felt like that is what they reverted back to, especially in those last couple of minutes.
All right, we got much more post-game live coming up in just a little bit. It doesn't get easier. I mean, you got Boston coming to town on Monday, OKC on Tuesday. We'll talk about the upcoming matchups after this. The Boston Celtics. Now, Morgan, I mean, I understand it's scary. Jaylen Brown might not play. He's dealing with some things, so we may be catching a break. And we beat them in Boston earlier this year. I'm just saying, anything is possible, right? I'm not, because I remember back in January going into that game, everybody's like, oh, there's no way it's going to be an L. And they came through. They won that game.
I like positive, Kyle. This is good. I need this right now because, you know, I'm feeling a little down. Sometimes it's when you're playing a really good team, you can also have a really good game and still end up losing. And that's one of my fears right now because you can't get any more L's and you might get a couple more L's. So I don't know what you do, Kyle. You just fight all the way until the end. You do what you can, being physical, but besides that, it's just like a tough road ahead.
Yeah, tough road. You got a back-to-back Boston, OKC. Handle your business. Find a way, Sacramento Kings. Malik Monk, I'm sure you're watching at home, man. Get better. Hopefully you're back in action Monday when the Celtics come to town. For Morgan, I'm Kyle. Kings fall tonight, 114-108 to drop to 35 and 35 on the season. We'll see you Monday at 6:30 for Kings Pregame Live.